Hello. I want an open marriage, I announced over dinner, watching David's fork freeze halfway to his mouth. After 15 years together, I figured I'd earned the right to explore. Besides, what's the worst that could happen? I was about to find out. Let me get this straight, Emma, he said, setting down his fork carefully. You want to sleep with other people? Not exactly, I hedged, though that was precisely what I wanted. I just think we should explore what else is out there. Grow as people. The truth was, I was already exploring. Had been for 2 months with my hot new CrossFit trainer, Jake. But David didn't need to know that part. Not yet. This isn't about us being stagnant, David said quietly. Who is he? My heart skipped. What? There's no one. I'm just suggesting. Emma. His voice was steel. Don't insult my intelligence. You've been coming home late from the gym, your phone's always face down, and you changed your password last month. So I'll ask again. Who is he? I forced a laugh. You're being paranoid. I changed my password for work security. And yes, I've been hitting the gym hard, but that's because I'm finally getting in shape. You should be happy about that. David studied me for a long moment. I held his gaze, keeping my expression neutral. 15 years of marriage had taught me how to lie to him effectively. Fine, he said finally. You want an open marriage? Let's do it. But we need ground rules. I blinked, surprised by his quick agreement. Of course, whatever you want. Rule 1. Full disclosure. We tell each other everything, who, when, where. Rule 2. No one from our social circle or work. Rule 3. Regular STD testing. Agreed, I said quickly, already planning how to hide my ongoing thing with Jake. What David didn't know wouldn't hurt him. One more thing, he added, his eyes never leaving mine. This goes both ways. What's good for you is good for me. I waved my hand dismissively. Of course, that's only fair. As if my boring, workaholic husband would ever actually act on it. David hadn't looked at another woman in 15 years. He wasn't about to start now. Great, he smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. When do you want to start? How about now? I suggested, trying not to sound too eager. Jake was waiting for my text. Had been ever since I told him my plan this morning between sets. David nodded slowly. Now works. In fact, I already have plans for Friday night. That stopped me cold. You, what? Remember Jennifer from accounting? Turns out she's been interested for a while. Just waiting for the right moment. My stomach dropped. Jennifer was the new hire at his firm, young, gorgeous, and definitely not who I'd pictured when agreeing to reciprocal privileges. You've been planning this? Not at all, he said smoothly. But when my wife started staying late at the gym 3 nights a week with her trainer, I figured I should keep my options open. Grow as a person. The way he emphasized trainer made my blood run cold. There was no way he could know about Jake. Was there? The next few weeks were nothing like I'd imagined. I'd pictured myself having exciting adventures while David sat at home, maybe occasionally going on awkward coffee dates that went nowhere. Instead, he was thriving. Jennifer wasn't his only prospect. Suddenly, women were coming out of the woodwork, clients, colleagues, even our neighbor Kate, who I'd always thought was too shy to talk to anyone. Turned out she'd been harboring a crush on David for years. Meanwhile, my thing with Jake was losing its spark. The sneaking around had been exciting, but now that I technically had permission, it felt ordinary. Plus, Jake was getting clingy, texting constantly and asking when I'd leave David. You said you'd tell him about us once you opened the marriage, he complained one afternoon after our session. It's been 3 weeks. The timing isn't right, I said, watching David's latest Instagram post pop up on my phone. It showed him and Jennifer at some rooftop bar, both looking impossibly glamorous. The caption read, "Beautiful evening with a beautiful woman. #open to new experiences." The post had 47 likes already, including one from my sister. I don't get why we have to keep hiding, Jake pressed. You said your husband was cool with it. He is, I snapped. I just don't want to rub it in his face. The truth was, I couldn't bear to admit I'd been cheating. Not now, when David was suddenly Mr. Popular. It would make me look pathetic, like I'd had to sneak around while he could attract women openly. That night, David came home late, humming to himself as he loosened his tie. "Good date?" I asked, aiming for casual but hearing the edge in my voice. "Amazing," he grinned. "Jennifer took me to this underground jazz club. Did you know she used to play saxophone professionally?" I did not know that. I also didn't know how to compete with a gorgeous, successful woman who played jazz saxophone. "That's nice," I managed. "I'm going to the gym tomorrow morning." "With Jake?" David asked innocently. "How is he, by the way? Still enjoying those private sessions?" My blood froze. "What do you mean?" "Oh, just making conversation. You spend so much time with him. I feel like I should know more about the guy. Maybe we could all have dinner sometime." "He's not really a dinner person," I mumbled. "Shame." David shrugged. "Jennifer's having a party next weekend. She said I could bring you. Lots of interesting people will be there. Lawyers, doctors, even a few personal trainers. Could be fun." The way he emphasized personal trainers made my skin crawl. He knew. He had to know. But how much? "I'll think about it," I said weakly. "Do that," he smiled, heading upstairs to shower. "Oh, and Emma? You might want to be more careful with your phone. Your screen lights up every time Jake texts, even when it's face down. Good thing I'm not the jealous type anymore. Right?" I decided to attend Jennifer's party, if only to scope out my competition. That was my third mistake. The moment we walked in, I realized I'd miscalculated. Jennifer's apartment wasn't just nice. It was stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Central Park, and the place was filled with beautiful people who all seemed to know David. "David, darling." Jennifer floated over in a dress that probably cost more than my car. "And you must be Emma. I've heard so much about you." The way she said it made me wonder exactly what she'd heard. "Love the dress," she added, eyeing my H&M clearance rack special. "So brave of you to wear something so casual." Before I could respond, she'd whisked David away to meet some important client. I found myself alone by the bar, watching my husband work the room like he'd been doing this his whole life. When did boring, predictable David become this confident socialite? Rough night. I turned to find an attractive older man offering me a fresh drink. "That obvious?" I asked. "Let's just say I recognized the look of someone who's gotten more than they bargained for." He smiled.
I'm Robert.
"I'm Jennifer's divorce attorney." I nearly choked on my drink. Why would Jennifer need a divorce attorney? Oh, she doesn't. But her clients often do. Especially after parties like this. He gestured around the room. You'd be amazed how many marriages end after one spouse suggests opening things up. My stomach churned. What do you mean? In my experience, the person who suggests an open marriage is usually already cheating. They think it's a clever way to cover their tracks. He sipped his drink. Unfortunately, they often discover their supposedly boring spouse is actually quite appealing to others. The power dynamic shifts and well, he shrugged. I make a very good living. Across the room, I watched David laughing with a group of women. Jennifer's hand rested casually on his arm. Of course, Robert continued. The real problems start when the pre-existing affair comes to light. Courts tend to view that very differently from consensual non-monogamy, especially if there's evidence of long-term deception. Evidence. My voice was barely a whisper. Texts, emails, gym membership records, security camera footage. He gave me a knowing look. Private training sessions. My glass slipped from my numb fingers, shattering on the floor. The room went quiet. Oops, Jennifer called out cheerfully. Someone's had a bit too much fun. David, sweetie, maybe you should take Emma home. David appeared at my side, all concern. Everything okay? Honey? You look pale. She'll be fine, Robert said smoothly. We were just discussing some interesting legal precedents. Weren't we, Emma? I barely made it to the car before throwing up. David didn't say a word the whole ride home, just hummed quietly to himself. The same tune he'd been humming the night I asked for an open marriage. The next morning, I woke to an empty house and a text from Jake. We need to talk. Now. I met him at a coffee shop, far from our usual spots. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept. I got fired this morning, he said without preamble. The gym terminated my contract. Something about inappropriate relations with clients. My heart stopped. What? Someone sent them security footage. Us in the private training room. All of it, Emma. Going back months before your supposed open marriage. I grabbed his arm. Did they mention David? No, but get this. They copied Jennifer Patterson on the email. The same Jennifer who's been dating your husband. That's impossible. She's just some accountant at his firm. Jake laughed bitterly. Accountant? Emma. She's the managing partner. And she sits on the board of the gym's parent company. The room spun. All those casual comments from David about Jake, about phone screens lighting up. The convenient timing of his relationship with Jennifer. Robert, the divorce attorney at the party. My phone buzzed. A text from David. Coming home early today. We should talk about Jake. Then another. By the way, did you know Jennifer used to compete in bodybuilding? Small world. She actually trained at your gym years ago. Knows everyone there. A third message. This one from Jennifer herself. Thanks for coming to the party. By the way, found this old photo. Thought you might find it interesting. The attached image showed Jennifer with the gym's owner at some charity event. From 5 years ago. There's more, Jake said, his voice shaking. I got an email this morning from some law firm. They're saying I might be liable for alienation of affection or something. Could lose my trainer certification completely. My phone buzzed again. David, hope your morning coffee with Jake is going well. Don't worry about rushing home. Jennifer's taking me to lunch to discuss some interesting legal strategies. Sweet dreams, honey. The same phrase he'd used the night I asked for an open marriage. When he'd known everything all along. Emma? Jake waved his hand in front of my face. Are you even listening? This is serious. We need to figure out. We're done. I cut him off. Standing up so quickly my chair toppled over. Don't contact me again. What? You can't just. Watch me. I grabbed my purse and practically ran to my car. On the drive home, my phone kept buzzing. Jake's messages grew increasingly panicked. I blocked his number. David's sleek BMW was already in the driveway when I pulled up. He and Jennifer sat on the porch, looking through what appeared to be a thick folder of documents. Perfect timing, David called out cheerfully. We were just reviewing some interesting paperwork. Care to join us? Tell me, Emma, Jennifer said, flipping open the folder. How long did you think you could keep up the charade? Inside were photographs, dozens of them. Jake and me in the training room, at his apartment, in my car. Some dated months before I'd ever mentioned open marriage. Quite the paper trail you've left, David added. Gym membership charges, hotel receipts, those cute little gifts you bought him on our joint credit card. Did you really think I wouldn't notice? I can explain. No need, Jennifer cut in. Your texts already did that for you. The ones about how boring David was, how you needed excitement. My favorite was the one where you called him a predictable fool who'd never suspect anything. I sank onto the porch steps, legs giving out. How? Remember when you left your phone at home that day? David smiled. The day you were supposedly having lunch with your sister, but were actually at the Howard Johnson with Jake? Amazing what cell phone recovery software can find, even after messages are deleted. The real question, Jennifer continued, pulling out another document, is what happens now. Option 1. We file these divorce papers, including all evidence of your pre-existing affair, which would void any claim you have to marital assets due to the infidelity clause in your prenup. My head snapped up. We didn't have a prenup. Oh, we do, David corrected, reading my expression. Remember that stack of documents you signed when we refinanced the house last year? You really should read things before signing them. Option 2, Jennifer continued, is a post-nuptial agreement. You walk away with a small settlement, but your reputation intact. No one at the gym, our social circle, or your family needs to know about Jake. You can't do this, I whispered. Actually, we can. See, while you were busy with your trainer, David and I were busy too. Just not in the way you think. Jennifer held up her left hand, where a massive diamond sparkled. As his attorney, I advised him to gather evidence. As his friend, I helped him set up tonight's little reveal. And as his new fiancé, once your divorce is finalized, of course, I'll help him move on to better things. You were never dating? Oh, honey, Jennifer laughed. David's far too ethical to actually sleep with someone else, even with permission. He just needed you to think he would, to understand how it feels. The open marriage was a test, I realized. One you failed spectacularly. David stood up. The papers are inside when you're ready to sign. I'll be at Jennifer's. Take your time, but not too much time. That evidence folder gets delivered to your parents tomorrow unless we have a deal. They left me there on the porch, staring at the life I'd blown up for a few cheap thrills. Through the window, I could see more photos spread across the coffee table. My phone buzzed with a text from my sister. Just had an interesting chat with David. How could you, Emma? Another buzz. Mom's crying. Dad says don't bother coming to Sunday dinner. Final buzz. From David. Sweet dreams, honey. Hope it was worth it. I sat there until dark, wondering how I'd missed the steel beneath my boring husband's predictable exterior. How I'd never noticed that his quarterly golf games with Jennifer weren't about accounting at all, but carefully planned legal strategy sessions. How many other seemingly innocent moments had been part of his elaborate trap. The lights in our bedroom, his bedroom now, clicked off automatically at 10 p.m. Predictable just like always. Except nothing about David had ever been predictable. I'd just been too arrogant to notice. I walked inside and picked up the pen. Thank you for listening the story to the end. Write your thoughts about it in the comments and do not forget to subscribe. See you in the next videos. Bye.